I lived here 47 years, and I was not letting anyone push me out. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end and let me know which city you are listening from. That way I can see how far my story has traveled. My name's Eleanor May Patterson, but everyone calls me Nana L. I'm 72 years old, I got arthritis in my knees, my hair's gone completely white, and I baked the best apple pie in 3 counties. I also just pulled off the most epic revenge story you've ever heard, and honey, it was totally worth it. But let me back up a bit, 'cause this story starts about 6 months ago when my whole world got flipped upside down. I'd been living in my house for 47 years. 47 years. That's the house where I raised my kids, where my Herbert proposed to me on the front porch, where every Christmas morning happened, where every birthday cake got baked. The walls held more memories than I could count. The garden out back? I planted every single flower with my own 2 hands. Then my sweet Herbert passed 5 years ago, and it had been just me and my cat Whiskers ever since. I was doing fine, really I was. Sure, I got lonely sometimes, but I had my routine. Coffee at 6, gardening by 8, bingo on Thursdays, and my stories on TV every afternoon at 2. Life was good. Simple. Peaceful. Until that snake in a cheap suit showed up. His name was Marcus Holloway, and he was some hotshot real estate developer from the city. Showed up at my door one Tuesday morning in March, grinning like he'd already won the lottery. He was maybe 40, slicked back hair, expensive watch, teeth so white they probably glowed in the dark. "Mrs. Patterson," he said, not even waiting for me to invite him in. "I'm here to make you an offer you can't refuse." I should have slammed the door right then. "I ain't interested in selling," I told him, crossing my arms. "This house ain't for sale, never has been, never will be." His smile didn't budge. "Mrs. Patterson, I understand you're attached to this property, but I'm prepared to offer you well above market value. We're talking serious money here." "How much money?" I asked, not 'cause I was interested but 'cause I was nosy. $200,000. I nearly choked. My house was worth maybe $150 on a good day. But I shook my head anyway. Not interested. That's when his smile finally dropped. "Mrs. Patterson, let me be straight with you. This entire block is being redeveloped. Everyone else has already sold. You're the last holdout and frankly you're blocking progress." "Progress?" I snorted. "You mean you want to tear down these homes and build some ugly condos nobody can afford?" "Luxury apartments," he corrected like that made it better. "Mixed-use development. Shops, restaurants, green spaces." "I got green spaces. It's called my backyard." He wasn't amused. "Mrs. Patterson, I'm trying to be nice here. But if you don't sell voluntarily, we have other ways of acquiring this property." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm informing you of reality," he said coldly. "One way or another, this development is happening. You can either profit from it or, well, things could get difficult for you." Then he left, and I stood there shaking with anger. But Marcus Holloway wasn't done. Oh no, that was just the beginning. Over the next few weeks, weird stuff started happening. First, I got a notice from the city saying my property was in violation of about 15 different codes. Said my fence was too tall, my garden shed was too close to the property line. My driveway was cracked and hazardous. Never mind that nothing had changed in 30 years and nobody had cared before. Then my water got shut off. The city claimed I hadn't paid my bill, which was nonsense 'cause I'd been on autopay for years. Took 3 days to get it turned back on and nobody would apologize. After that, I started getting noise complaints. The cops showed up twice saying neighbors reported loud parties at my address. Loud parties. I was in bed by 9 most nights with Whiskers and a cup of chamomile tea. But the worst part, the absolute worst part was what happened to my garden. I woke up one morning in April and found my entire garden destroyed. Someone had come in the middle of the night and torn up everything. My roses, my tomatoes, my hydrangeas that took me 15 years to get just right. They'd even knocked over my little stone bird bath that Herbert gave me for our 20th anniversary. I sat down right there in the dirt and cried. Just sobbed like a baby. That's when my neighbor, sweet old Dorothy from next door, came over and put her arm around me. "Oh, honey," she said quietly. "I saw who did it." "Who?" "Some guys in a truck. Had Holloway development on the side." Something inside me snapped right then. Not broke, mind you. It hardened into something sharp and cold and absolutely done with playing nice. I stood up, wiped my eyes, and said, "Dorothy, I'm about to do something crazy." "Good," she said. "That man's got it coming." See, I'd been raised to be polite, to turn the other cheek, to respect authority and follow the rules. My whole life I'd been the good girl, the good wife, the good mother, the good grandmother. I baked cookies for every bake sale, volunteered at the library, never caused trouble. But you know what? Sometimes being good just means letting people walk all over you. Not anymore. If Marcus Holloway wanted a war, Grandma L was about to show him what 72 years of life experience could do. First thing I did was get myself a lawyer. Not some expensive downtown lawyer. I couldn't afford that anyway. I went to my friend Rita's grandson, Tommy, who just graduated law school and was working at a small practice that did pro bono work. Tommy was a sweet kid, maybe 26, still had that idealistic spark in his eyes. He listened to my story, took notes, and nodded along. "Mrs. Patterson, this is textbook harassment," he said. "The problem is proving Holloway's behind it all. So what do? We document everything. Every violation notice, every interaction, every weird thing that happens. We build a case. How long will that take? Could be months. Maybe longer." I shook my head. "I don't got months, sweetheart. That man's trying to drive me out of my home right now." Tommy looked uncomfortable. "I understand your frustration, but the legal system moves slower than molasses in January," I interrupted. "No offense, honey, but I need a different approach." That's when I went to see my second oldest friend in the world, after Dorothy. Her name was Grace Chan, and we'd been friends since our kids were in elementary school together. Grace was 75, sharp as a tack, and had worked as an investigative journalist for 30 years before retiring. I met her at the diner on 5th Street, laid out the whole situation over coffee and pie. Grace listened, asked questions, and then leaned back with a smile that reminded me why she'd been so good at her job. "Eleanor," she said, "how badly do you want to take this guy down?" "Real bad. Legally. Preferably. But I'm flexible." She laughed. "Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna investigate Mr. Marcus Holloway, like he's running for president. Every business deal, every property development, every person he's screwed over. I guarantee you a man who operates like this has left bodies in his wake." "Bodies? Metaphorical bodies?" "Probably. We're gonna find everyone he's hurt, and we're gonna see if there's a pattern." "Can you do that?" "Honey, I spent 3 decades tracking down corruption in city government. A 2-bit real estate developer? That's light work." Grace wasn't kidding. Within 2 weeks, she'd compiled a file on Marcus Holloway that was thicker than my Christmas card list. Turns out our boy Marcus had a history. A long, nasty history. Over the past 10 years, he'd bought up and redeveloped 6 different properties around the city. Every single time he'd done the same thing. Buy out most of the properties in a block, then systematically harass the holdouts until they sold for cheap or gave up and left. But here's where it got interesting. In 3 of those cases, there were suspicious fires right before the last holdouts agreed to sell. The fire department ruled them electrical problems, but the timing was awfully convenient. In another case, an elderly man named Frank Morrison held out for 8 months before having a sudden heart attack. His family sold the property a week after his funeral. The development went up 6 months later. "Grace," I said, looking through the files, "this man is dangerous." "Yep. We can't just... This isn't just about annoying him back. This is serious. Which is why we're gonna be smart, Grace said. We're not gonna do anything illegal. We're gonna use every legal tool available to make his life difficult, shine a spotlight on his shady practices, and turn public opinion against him. How? She smiled. You let me worry about that. But first we need to stop him from harassing you. For that we need evidence. What kind of evidence? The smoking gun kind. Dorothy, bless her heart, was sneakier than I ever gave her credit for. She was the one who suggested we set up cameras. Not fancy security cameras, those would have been obvious. No, we used these tiny little wireless cameras that Grace's grandson, who worked in tech apparently, helped us install. We put them in my bushes under my eaves pointing at the street. Covered every angle of my property. Then we waited. Didn't take long. 3 nights later, around 2 in the morning, a truck rolled up. No company logo this time, but I recognized one of the guys getting out. He'd been on my property before, supposedly doing city inspections. The cameras caught everything. Them creeping onto my property, spray painting graffiti on my fence, dumping trash in my yard, even trying to break my mailbox. But we didn't call the cops. Not yet. We need more, Grace said. We need the connection to Holloway. So we kept watching and waiting. And 2 weeks later we hit the jackpot. Marcus Holloway himself showed up. Parked down the street in a black sedan, engine running. The same crew of guys pulled up, and one of them walked over to Holloway's car. The cameras caught them talking, caught Holloway handing over what looked like cash, caught him pointing at my house. Then the guys went and slashed my tires. Got him, Grace said with satisfaction. This video is gold. But we still didn't call the cops. Grace had a better idea. Remember how I said Grace used to be an investigative journalist? Well, she still had friends in the business. Lots of friends. She reached out to a reporter at the local news station. A young woman named Jessica Torres who'd been doing stories on affordable housing and gentrification. Jessica was hungry for a good story, and boy did we have one for her. We gave her everything. The harassment timeline, the documentation, the videos, the pattern of Holloway's previous developments. She spent 2 weeks verifying everything, interviewing other people Holloway had pushed out, building a complete picture. And then she ran the story. It aired on a Thursday night prime time. Developers' dark tactics. Elderly woman fights back against harassment campaign. They showed me sitting in my destroyed garden, talking about my 47 years in the house. They showed the security footage of the vandalism. They interviewed Tommy, my lawyer, about the bogus code violations. They talked to Frank Morrison's daughter about the suspicious circumstances of her father's heart attack. And they confronted Holloway himself. I watched from my living room as Jessica Torres ambushed him outside his office building with the camera crew. Mr. Holloway, can you comment on allegations that you've been systematically harassing Eleanor Patterson? No comment. Sir, we have video evidence of your employees vandalizing Mrs. Patterson's property. Can you explain this? That's taken out of context. No comment. Sir, we've found a pattern of similar behavior in your previous developments. Do you have any response? You're making baseless accusations. My lawyers will be in touch. But the damage was done. By the next morning, the video had 500,000 views on social media. The local paper picked it up. Then the regional news. By the weekend, it was a national story. Grandma versus developer. The fight for home and community. Suddenly, I wasn't just some stubborn old lady. I was a symbol. People started showing up at my house with flowers, with cards, with offers to help fix my garden. A contractor volunteered to repair everything the vandals had damaged, free of charge. Someone started a GoFundMe for my legal expenses. It raised $40,000 in 3 days. Marcus Holloway became the most hated man in the city. After the story broke, things moved fast. The city launched an official investigation into the code violations against my property. Turned out, several inspectors had been accepting payments from Holloway Development to file false reports. They got suspended, and all the violations against my property were dropped. The police, suddenly very interested in looking good, opened an investigation into the vandalism. With our video evidence, they arrested 2 of Holloway's employees. Both of them, facing serious charges, agreed to testify that Holloway had paid them to harass me. Holloway's lawyer tried to spin it as rogue employees acting without his knowledge, but nobody was buying it. Then the dominoes really started falling. The family of Frank Morrison, the old man who died during one of Holloway's previous developments, filed a wrongful death lawsuit. They couldn't prove Holloway caused the heart attack, but they could prove harassment contributed to his stress. 3 other families came forward with similar stories. A class action lawsuit got filed. The fire department reopened investigations into those suspicious fires. And the city council, facing massive public pressure, voted to halt Holloway's latest development project pending a full review. I watched it all unfold from my living room, whiskers purring in my lap, feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Hope? But Grace warned me not to celebrate yet. Men like Holloway don't go down easy, she said. He's gonna fight back. She was right. Holloway's lawyers came out swinging. They filed a defamation lawsuit against me, Grace, Tommy, and the news station. They claimed we'd fabricated evidence, that the videos were doctored, that the whole thing was a shakedown to extort money from a legitimate businessman. They also dug into my life looking for dirt. And they found some. Turned out 20 years ago I'd gotten a DUI. It was stupid. I'd had 2 glasses of wine at a dinner party and thought I was fine to drive. Got pulled over, blew over the limit, spent a night in jail. Herbert had been so disappointed. I'd never touched alcohol and driven again. But Holloway's lawyers leaked it to the press, trying to paint me as a drunk, a liar, someone looking to cash in. Some of the public support wavered. I started getting hate mail along with the love letters. Holloway's lawyers came out swinging. They filed a defamation lawsuit against me, Grace, Tommy, and the news station. They claimed we'd fabricated evidence, that the videos were doctored, that the whole thing was a shakedown to extort money from a legitimate businessman. They also dug into my life looking for dirt. And they found some. Turned out 20 years ago I'd gotten a DUI. It was stupid. I'd had 2 glasses of wine at a dinner party and thought I was fine to drive. Got pulled over, blew over the limit, spent a night in jail. Herbert had been so disappointed. I'd never touched alcohol and driven again. But Holloway's lawyers leaked it to the press, trying to paint me as a drunk, a liar, someone looking to cash in. Some of the public support wavered. I started getting hate mail along with the love letters. One night, someone threw a brick through my front window with a note attached. "Take the money and leave, you greedy old hag." I sat in my living room surrounded by broken glass and felt like giving up. Dorothy found me there an hour later, crying again. "Come on now," she said gently. "You've made it this far. You gonna let that bully win?" "I'm tired, Dot. I'm so tired." "I know, honey. But look at what you've already done. You've exposed him. You've helped other people come forward. You've got the whole city watching. You can't stop now. What if the lawsuit bankrupts me? Then we'll all chip in. You think you're alone? Half the neighborhood's got your back." Grace is running circles around his investigators. Tommy's working for free. That reporter Jessica calls every other day checking if you're okay. She was right. I wasn't alone. For the first time in 5 years since Herbert died, I really wasn't alone. "Okay," I said, wiping my eyes. "Okay, let's finish this." Tommy might have been young, but he was smarter than I gave him credit for. While Holloway's fancy lawyers were focused on attacking my character, Tommy was quietly digging through Holloway Development's business records. He filed subpoenas for financial documents, building permits, contractor agreements, everything he could think of. And buried in those thousands of pages of documents, he found something incredible. Holloway had been committing tax fraud. For years, he'd been inflating construction costs on his tax returns while underpaying contractors, pocketing the difference. He'd been using shell companies to hide income. He'd been claiming properties as business expenses that were actually personal purchases. Tommy brought the evidence to a friend who worked at the IRS. Within a week, federal investigators were involved. But Tommy found something else too. Something that tied everything together. Those suspicious fires I mentioned? Turned out Holloway had insurance policies on those properties. Big policies. And the electrical problems the fire department blamed? All the work had been done by contractors Holloway hired. Contractors who'd been cited multiple times for shoddy electrical work. It wasn't proof of arson exactly, but it was proof of a pattern. A pattern of gross negligence at best, insurance fraud at worst. When Tommy presented all this at a hearing for the development permits, the whole room went silent. The city council voted unanimously to deny Holloway's permit and revoke his business license pending investigation. Holloway, sitting in the back of the room, went pale after that. Everything unraveled fast for Marcus Holloway. The IRS investigation led to criminal charges. Tax evasion, fraud, you name it. The fire department's renewed investigation found enough irregularities to refer the case to the district attorney for possible arson charges. The civil lawsuits piled up. The class action. Frank Morrison's family. 3 other families. All of them smelling blood in the water. Holloway's investors abandoned him. His company went bankrupt. His fancy office downtown got foreclosed on. And me? I got to stay in my house. The whole development project got canceled. The other properties on my block that had been sold got bought by a nonprofit housing developer that promised to build affordable housing instead of luxury condos. My house, standing there in the middle of all the construction plans, was suddenly a symbol of resistance, of community, of the idea that not everything should be for sale. People still drove by to take pictures. News crews interviewed me about how it felt to win. And the truth? Felt good. Really good. But it also felt kind of empty. You see, revenge is funny. You spend all this time thinking about how good it'll feel to take someone down, to make them pay for what they did to you. And when it finally happens, when you win, you realize that's not really what it was about. Don't get me wrong. Watching Marcus Holloway lose everything was satisfying. Seeing him get arrested made me smile. Knowing he'd probably spend years in court and maybe even in prison, that was justice. But the real victory wasn't about him at all. It was about what happened after. Dorothy and I started a neighborhood association. We worked with the city to make sure nothing like this could happen again, that residents had a voice in development decisions. Grace turned our whole experience into a series of articles about predatory real estate practices. Her work led to new city ordinances protecting elderly homeowners. Tommy used the publicity to launch his career. He started a practice specializing in tenant rights and housing law. Jessica Torres won a regional journalism award for her coverage. She's now investigating corporate malfeasance full-time. And me? I fixed up my garden, replanted every flower, rebuilt my bird bath, even added some new roses. Every morning I go out there with my coffee and look at what we created, what we saved. My house isn't just a house anymore. It's a reminder that sometimes the little guy can win. That standing up to bullies matters. That community matters. I'm 72 years old, I got arthritis in my knees, And I just took down a corrupt real estate developer using nothing but stubbornness, good friends, and a whole lot of determination. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're wondering if this is all really true, if it really happened like this. And the honest answer is, mostly. The names are changed, except mine sorta. Some details are adjusted. Real life's messier than stories, with more waiting around and less dramatic confrontation. But the heart of it? That's all true. The harassment, the resistance, the investigation, the victory, all of it happened in one way or another, to me and people like me across this country. So what's the lesson here? It's not that revenge feels good, though sometimes it does. It's not that you should go start fights with powerful people, though sometimes that's necessary. The lesson is this. Don't mess with grandma. No, really. That's it. See, we old folks have something you young people don't have yet. We got nothing left to lose and everything to protect. We got decades of experience, networks of friends, time on our hands, and we're too old to be scared of consequences. We also got something else we remember. We remember when neighborhoods were neighborhoods, when a handshake meant something, when people looked out for each other. We remember that progress ain't always progress, that new ain't always better, and that some things are worth fighting for. My house? It's not the biggest or the fanciest or the most valuable, but it's mine. It's where my life happened, where my memories live, where I feel safe. And when someone tried to take that away through intimidation and harassment and dirty tricks, they forgot one crucial thing. I ain't the kind of grandma who just bakes cookies and knits sweaters. Well, okay, I do those things, but I also fight back. It's been 6 months now since everything went down. Marcus Holloway's awaiting trial. His lawyers keep filing delays, but it's gonna happen eventually. Word is he might take a plea deal. The affordable housing development on my block broke ground last month. It's gonna be nice small apartments and townhouses that actual working people can afford, with a community garden and a playground. I'm helping design the community garden. Seems only fitting. My house got appraised again last month just out of curiosity. You know what it's worth now? $300,000. All the publicity made it famous, and apparently famous houses are worth more. I'm still not selling. Tommy stopped by last week to tell me he's opening his own law office. He wants to call it Patterson and Associates Legal Services. If I'm okay with it. I told him only if he promises to help folks who really need it, not just people who can pay. He agreed. Grace is writing a book about the whole experience. She keeps interviewing me, asking questions about how I felt at different moments. Honestly, most of the time I felt scared and angry and tired, but she's making it sound a lot more heroic than it was. Jessica Torres got hired by a national news network. She's going to be investigating corporate corruption on a bigger scale. She called me last week to say thanks, that covering my story changed her career. I told her she changed my life, so we're even. Dorothy and I still have coffee every morning on my front porch. We watch the construction, we talk about the weather, we gossip about the neighbors. It's nice. Normal. Peaceful. Whiskers is getting fat because everyone who visits brings him treats. He's living his best life. And me? I'm doing good. Really good. Better than I have in years, actually. Here's something I didn't expect. I became kind of famous. Not like movie star famous, but like that grandma who fought the developer famous. People recognize me at the grocery store. They ask for selfies. One lady asked me to sign her petition against a casino development. It's weird and kind of nice and sometimes exhausting. But the weirdest part? Other people started reaching out. Folks from all over the country who were in similar situations, being pushed out of their homes by developers or corporations or just life circumstances. I got letters, emails, phone calls. All these stories of people fighting their own battles, needing advice, or just wanting to know it was possible to win. So Grace and I started something. We call it the Grandma Network. It's basically just a bunch of us old folks who've been through the ringer, helping other people navigate similar situations. We connect people with lawyers, journalists, community organizers. We share strategies and offer support. Sounds fancy, but really it's just a bunch of grandmas and some grandpas with attitude and time on their hands. We helped a family in Ohio fight a predatory landlord. We connected activists in Seattle with journalists covering corporate pollution. We even helped organize a rent strike in Atlanta that got a slumlord to make repairs. Turns out there's a lot of power in a network of stubborn old people who aren't afraid of consequences. One lady, Martha from Tennessee, called me crying after her situation got resolved. She'd been fighting an insurance company that was trying to deny her husband's medical claims. Our network connected her with a lawyer and a local news station. The insurance company folded in 3 weeks. "Thank you," she kept saying. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." But I was the one who felt grateful. Grateful that something good came from all the bad. Grateful that my stubbornness turned into something bigger than just my own fight. Late at night, when it's just me and Whiskers and the house is quiet, I think about everything that happened. I think about how close I came to giving up. How many times I wanted to just take the money and leave to avoid the fight, to make the easy choice. I think about Herbert and what he would have said. He was a practical man, my Herbert. He would have seen both sides. But I also know he would have been proud of me for standing up. I think about all the people who helped me. Dorothy, Grace, Tommy, Jessica. Even strangers who sent cards and donations and words of encouragement. None of this would have worked if I'd been alone. That's maybe the most important lesson. You can't fight alone. You need people. You need community. You need folks who believe in you and are willing to stand with you. Marcus Holloway thought he was fighting one stubborn old lady. He didn't realize he was fighting an entire community. That was his mistake. I also think about him sometimes. Wonder if he learned anything, if he has regrets, if he lies awake at night thinking about the choices he made. Probably not. Men like that usually don't. But maybe, just maybe, the next developer who thinks about harassing some elderly homeowner will remember what happened to Marcus Holloway. Maybe they'll think twice. Maybe they'll decide it's not worth it. And if even one person gets to stay in their home because of what happened to me, then all of this was worth it. So where do I go from here? That's what everyone keeps asking me. News crews, documentary filmmakers, even a couple of literary agents who want me to write a book. The truth is, I don't know. I'm just gonna keep living my life. Keep drinking coffee on my front porch. Keep working in my garden. Keep playing with Whiskers. Keep having lunch with Dorothy. But I'm also gonna keep fighting in my own way. Keep helping people through the Grandma Network. Keep showing up at city council meetings when something shady's going down. Keep being a thorn in the side of anyone who thinks they can push people around. Because here's what I learned. The fight doesn't end. There's always gonna be another Marcus Holloway, another person trying to take advantage, another injustice that needs addressing. But there's also always going to be people willing to fight back. People like me, like Grace, like Tommy, like Jessica, like all the folks who supported me. The good guys don't always win. Let's be real about that. Sometimes the bad guys have too much money, too much power, too many connections. But sometimes, if you're stubborn enough and smart enough and lucky enough, you can win. You can make a difference. You can stand up to the bullies and come out on top. And even when you lose, even when the bad guys win, standing up still matters. Fighting back still matters. Making them work for it, making them know they're in a fight, that still matters. I'm 72 years old. I don't know how many good years I got left. Could be 5, could be 20, could be tomorrow that I don't wake up. But I know this. When my time comes, I'm gonna go out knowing I fought. Knowing I didn't let someone take what was mine without a fight. knowing I stood up not just for myself, but for my community, for my principles, for what was right. That's worth more than all the money Marcus Holloway ever could have offered me. My house is still here. My garden's blooming. My community's stronger than ever. And somewhere out there, Marcus Holloway's in a courtroom fighting for his freedom. Some people might say I should feel bad about that I ruined his life. But you know what? He tried to ruin mine first. He tried to take my home, my memories, my peace. He destroyed my garden. He harassed me. He threatened me. He thought I was just some weak old lady he could push around. He was wrong. And now he knows. Don't mess with Grandma. Epilogue 1 year later. It's been a year now since the story first broke. A lot has changed. The affordable housing development is finished. The first families moved in last month, and Dorothy and I baked cookies for everyone. There's a young couple with twins in the unit closest to me, the Rodriguez family. Their kids play in my garden sometimes, and I don't mind one bit. Reminds me of when my own kids were little. Marcus Holloway took a plea deal. 5 years in federal prison for tax fraud and conspiracy. He lost his real estate license, lost his company, lost pretty much everything. His wife divorced him. Last I heard, his kids won't even talk to him. Do I feel bad about that? Honestly, not really. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, as the young folks say. The city passed new ordinances protecting homeowners from predatory development practices. They call it the Patterson Protection Act. That's my name on a law. Never thought I'd see the day. Grace's book came out 3 months ago. It's called The Grandma Who Wouldn't Move. One Woman's Fight Against Corporate Greed. It made the regional bestseller list. She gives me half the royalties, even though I told her she didn't have to. We donated most of it to affordable housing nonprofits. Tommy's law practice is thriving. He's got 3 associates now, and they handle hundreds of cases a year. Real people with real problems. I'm so proud of him. Jessica Torres is on national TV now, doing investigative reports. She still calls me every few months just to check in, see how I'm doing. Last time she called, she said, "You changed my life, Mrs. Patterson." I told her she changed mine right back. The Grandma Network is still going strong. We've helped over 200 families now. 200. Some fights we win, some we lose, but we show up for every single one. We got grandmas and grandpas in 40 states now, all connected, all ready to help. Whiskers turned 15 last month. He's slowing down, sleeping more, but he's still here with me. We sit on the porch together every morning, watching the sunrise, watching the neighborhood wake up. Dorothy's health isn't great. She's got some heart problems, and her daughter wants her to move to an assisted living place. She's fighting it, of course. That's our Dorothy. Me? My knees are worse. My back hurts most days. I forget words sometimes, forget where I put my glasses, forget what day it is. But I remember the important stuff. I remember standing up. I remember fighting back. I remember that you're never too old, never too weak, never too tired to do what's right. You know what the funny thing is? This whole story, this whole crazy year of my life, it started because some guy thought he could bully an old lady into selling her house. One guy's greed set off this whole chain of events that ended with new laws, a best-selling book, a national conversation about housing rights, and a network of activists helping people across the country. All because he picked the wrong grandma to mess with. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd just taken the money. Would I be living in some sterile apartment somewhere, surrounded by other old people, playing bingo and waiting to die? Maybe I'd have been fine. Maybe I'd have been happy even. But I wouldn't have this. I wouldn't have helped all those people. I wouldn't have made a difference. I wouldn't have proven that one person can fight back and win. And most importantly, I wouldn't have my home, my garden, My memories. My life. Was it scary? Hell yeah, it was scary. There were nights I couldn't sleep, days I couldn't eat, moments I thought I'd made a terrible mistake. Was it worth it? Hell yeah, it was worth it. Because here's the truth that took me 72 years to learn. Life isn't about playing it safe. It's not about avoiding conflict or keeping your head down, or just accepting whatever happens to you. Life is about standing up, fighting back, making noise, refusing to go quietly. Life is about looking at the person trying to push you around and saying, "Not today, buddy. Not me." I'm Eleanor May Patterson. I'm 72 years old. I've got arthritis, white hair, a fat cat, and a garden full of roses. I also took down a corrupt real estate developer, helped change city laws, inspired hundreds of people to fight back against injustice, and proved that you should never, ever underestimate a grandma with nothing to lose. So the next time you see some little old lady with a walker and a flower apron, remember, she might look harmless, but she's probably got more fight in her than you could ever imagine. We've been dealing with jerks like Marcus Holloway our whole lives. We've raised kids, survived wars, buried husbands, built communities. We've seen every trick in the book. And honey, we've got receipts. This is Grandma L signing off. Take care of each other out there. Stand up for what's right. Don't let the bullies win. And remember, don't mess with Grandma. Ever. This story is dedicated to every person who ever stood up to power, every community that fought to stay together, and every grandma who proved that age is just a number. Keep fighting. Keep standing up. Keep being stubborn. The world needs more of us.